The glowing dial of the studio clock read to 17 a.m. Outside, the city was a sprawling, sleeping giant, but inside the soundproof walls of the WPLG radio station, DJ Alex Bennett was just hitting his stride. His late-night talk show, The Alex Bennett Program, was a sanctuary for the insomniacs, the lonely, and the night owls of New York City. The airwaves hummed with a mix of rock music and the voices of callers, sharing everything from mundane complaints to profound, midnight revelations. It was a familiar, comforting rhythm, a nightly conversation with the unseen heart of the city. But on this particular night in March 1977, that rhythm was about to be shattered by a call that would bleed through the speakers and into the annals of true crime. The phone line blinked, and Alex, with the casual professionalism of a seasoned host, answered it. "You're on the air," he announced, his voice smooth and welcoming. The voice that came back was anything but ordinary. It was calm, steady, and chillingly composed. There was no static, no hesitation, just a measured tone that carried an unnerving weight. "I have a confession to make," the man said, his words slicing through the late-night haze. Alex leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. Confessions were part of the late-night tapestry, usually about cheating on a partner or quitting a job. He was not prepared for what came next. "I just killed someone," the voice continued, flat and devoid of emotion. "And I'm going to do it again." A cold silence fell over the studio, thick and suffocating. The hum of the equipment suddenly seemed deafening. Alex's producer, sitting behind the glass, froze, his eyes wide. This wasn't a prank. You could hear it in the chilling certainty of the man's voice. This was real. This was happening live, on air, broadcast to thousands of unsuspecting listeners across the 5 boroughs. An ordinary late-night show had just become the world's most public confessional, and its host, Alex Bennett, was now the unwilling priest. The call itself would become a haunting piece of evidence, a ghost in the machine that detectives would play over and over again. The man on the line spoke for several minutes, his voice a low, steady current of menace. He didn't shout, he didn't rave. He narrated his crime with the detached air of someone recounting a trip to the grocery store. He referred to his victim not by name, but as an object, a task completed. He spoke of an insatiable urge, a darkness within him that he couldn't control. "I had to do it," the caller explained, the words delivered with a terrifying sincerity. "It's a command. I don't know who gives the command, but I have to do it." He described the act in vague, yet horrifying terms, leaving just enough to the imagination to paint a gruesome picture. He spoke of the power he felt, the sense of release that came with taking a life. It was a monologue of pure, unadulterated evil, broadcast directly into the homes of people lying in their beds, perhaps listening for a familiar song or a comforting voice to lull them to sleep. Instead, they got a direct line to a killer's soul. Alex, for his part, handled the situation with a surreal composure. He kept the man talking, a primal instinct kicking in. Every second the killer was on the line was another second he wasn't out there, hunting for his next victim. It was another second for the police, who were undoubtedly already being flooded with calls, to try and trace the signal. Alex walked a tightrope, balancing the need to extract information with the terror of provoking the man on the other end. He asked questions, gently probing. "Why are you calling me? Why tell us?" The killer's answer was perhaps the most disturbing part of the entire exchange. "Because the whole world has to know what I can do," he said. "I want to be famous. I want to see my name in the papers." This wasn't about remorse. This wasn't a cry for help. It was a press release. The radio show was his stage, and the listeners, his captive audience. He was a performer, and murder was his art. He reveled in the attention, bathing in the fear he knew he was generating. The call was a declaration of war on the city, a promise of more violence to come. Throughout the call, Alex Bennett felt a profound and unsettling intuition. It was a chilling certainty that settled deep in his bones. This wasn't just a disturbed individual. It was something more calculated, more sinister. The DJ, a man who made his living by reading the tone and subtext of voices, heard something in the caller's steady cadence that went beyond simple madness. He heard a theatrical quality, a performance, He sensed the caller was enjoying the notoriety, feeding off the city's collective gasp. This wasn't a man losing control. It was a man taking it, using the public airwaves as his weapon. Alex later described the feeling as a cold dread that had nothing to do with personal fear and everything to do with the palpable evil coming through his headphones. He felt like he was speaking to a void, a dark entity that had found a human voice. He intuited that the killer's calmness wasn't a sign of sociopathic detachment alone, but of a carefully constructed persona. The man on the phone wanted to be perceived as a terrifying, unstoppable force, a boogeyman for the modern age. Alex played his part, keeping the conversation going, but he knew he was merely a pawn in this man's gruesome game. This eerie intuition would later prove to be unnervingly accurate. The caller was, in fact, creating a legend for himself. He was laying the groundwork for a reign of terror, and he had chosen Alex Bennett's show as his grand opening. The DJ wasn't just an interviewer. He was the first chronicler of a new nightmare dawning on the city. The moment the call ended, with the man's final, chilling promise to be back in touch, the studio exploded into controlled chaos. The police had been listening, alerted by panicked listeners and the station's own staff. The investigation began immediately, with the recorded audio of the call as its centerpiece. Detectives from the NIPT descended on the radio station, turning the place of late-night entertainment into a grim command center. The tape was taken, labeled as evidence, and sent to the forensics lab. The hunt for the voice had begun. Detectives, accustomed to dealing with physical evidence, fingerprints, fibers, and weapons, were now faced with the daunting task of tracing a phantom. Their primary clue was a disembodied voice, a series of sound waves captured on magnetic tape. They listened to the recording endlessly, dissecting every word, every pause, every subtle inflection. Was there a hint of an accent? Any background noise? A passing car? A distant train? A television that could betray the caller's location? The technology of the 1970s was a world away from the digital forensics of today. Tracing a call was a painstaking, manual process involving telephone company technicians and a race against time. The killer had been smart, keeping the call just short enough to make an immediate trace nearly impossible. He had used a public payphone, a near-anonymous portal in an era before surveillance cameras blanketed every street corner. Investigators brought in linguists and voice analysts to create a profile of the speaker. They determined his approximate age and educational level based on his vocabulary and speech patterns. They noted his lack of a discernible regional accent, suggesting he could be from anywhere. But the most significant clue was the voice itself. Its unnerving calmness, its steady rhythm, its underlying tone of arrogance. They were hunting for a man who believed he was smarter than everyone else, a narcissist who was orchestrating his own myth. The investigation branched out, following the dark thread of the killer's confession. The man had claimed to have just committed a murder. Detectives scoured recent incident reports, searching for a crime that matched the vague details from the call. They found it. A young woman had been tragically murdered just hours before the call was made, in a manner that mirrored the killer's dark insinuations. The confession was real. The threat was credible. The city held its breath. For weeks, the voice on the radio was the most wanted man in New York. The recording was played for potential witnesses and informants. The public was on high alert, seeing a suspect in every shadow. The call had done exactly what the killer wanted. It had turned him into a specter haunting the city, a faceless terror known only by his calm, menacing voice. The pressure on the police was immense, as they raced to put a face to the voice before he could fulfill his promise to kill again. The breakthrough, when it came, was a combination of old-fashioned police work and the killer's own burgeoning ego. He couldn't resist the spotlight. After the initial call, he began sending taunting letters to the press, including prominent columnist Jimmy Breslin. These letters were filled with the same arrogant tone as the phone call, rambling manifestos that mocked the police and promised more carnage. He gave himself a name, a theatrical moniker that would soon be infamous: Son of Sam. The man was David Berkowitz. The letters provided investigators with the crucial link: handwriting. But it was a parking ticket, issued near the scene of his final crime. that ultimately led police to a 24-year-old postal worker living in a modest Yonkers apartment. When they confronted Berkowitz, the pieces fell into place. His demeanor, his writings, and finally, his confession, all matched the profile of the man who had terrorized the city. He was the voice from the radio. The chilling reason the murderer wanted to confess was finally laid bare, and it was as disturbing as the crimes themselves. David Berkowitz wasn't driven by a supernatural command from a neighbor's dog, as he bizarrely claimed at first. That was part of the performance, the persona he had crafted. The truth, as revealed by investigators and criminal psychologists, was far more rooted in human pathology. Berkowitz was a deeply inadequate and lonely man, filled with a burning rage against a world he felt had rejected him. He craved power, recognition, and a sense of control that was entirely absent from his mundane life. Murder was his method, but media was his stage. The phone call to Alex Bennett's show wasn't a spontaneous act of a man racked with guilt. It was a calculated, strategic move. He didn't want silence. He craved an audience. He chose a late-night radio show, a platform that offered intimacy and a direct line to thousands of people at their most vulnerable. He wanted to inject his terror directly into the city's bloodstream. He wanted his voice to be the last thing people heard before they tried to sleep, a haunting reminder of the darkness that lurked just outside their windows. He confessed on the air because he was scripting his own horror movie, with himself as the star. He was the director, writer, and lead actor. The victims were props. The police were the bumbling antagonists, and the public was his terrified audience. By calling the radio station, he bypassed the filter of the press and spoke directly to the people, ensuring his message of menace was delivered pure and uncut. He was building his own brand of evil, and the WPLG airwaves were his marketing campaign. He didn't just want to be a killer. He wanted to be a celebrity killer, a household name synonymous with fear. And for a terrifying summer in 1977, he succeeded. This haunting true crime story stands as a stark testament to a dark facet of human nature. It proves that for some killers, the act itself is only part of the equation. Their ultimate satisfaction comes not from the silence of their victims, but from the roar of the crowd, the headlines in the papers, and the terror in the voices of a city held hostage. They don't want to fade into the darkness. They want to become it, ensuring their name is never forgotten. They don't just want to take a life. They want an audience to watch them do it. Remember, the most terrifying monsters are not those who hide in the shadows, but those who crave the spotlight. Their greatest weapon is not a gun or a knife, but the fear they can sow with a single, chilling phrase. If this story sent a shiver down your spine, be sure to follow our channel for more tales from the deepest, darkest corners of history. Stay curious, and stay safe.